We have some Eagles injury news to get to as Haason Reddick is set to undergo surgery on his thumb. He's out for the remainder of training camp as well as the preseason. The hope as of right now is that Reddick is going to be ready for week 1 against the New England Patriots. But coming up on today's show, I'm going to explain why this injury is a concern for me. Before we dissect this, break it down, this is why you subscribe to the channel. Because when big Eagles news happens, we cover it for the fans. For instance, if I'm at the Chat Sports Studios, we'll go live or we'll do a show. I was out on a run a little while ago. I got the notification and I hustled back home. Also, Eagles-Browns watch party coming your way right here on the channel tonight. Our coverage starts with an hour pregame show at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, live play-by-play, audience interaction, super chat giveaways during the game, but during our pregame show, position battles to watch, players to look out for. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I hope you subscribe, turn on your notifications, and join us. Therefore, anytime we do go live, you'll get that notification. This is Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for being here with us. So, Ian Rapoport with the news just moments ago that Haason Reddick is having surgery to address a thumb injury that he suffered in Monday's practice against the Cleveland Browns. Rapoport said this is all so that Reddick is ready to start the season against the Patriots in a couple of weeks in Foxborough, and Tom Brady is going to get honored by New England. Now, when Reddick returns, he'll have to wear a protective cast on that thumb like many people have done before. But obviously, this makes getting leverage on an offensive lineman difficult, a rip-through move, any type of move that you're trying to pull off as an edge rusher. If that thumb is protected and you don't have normal range of motion, normal strength, that's a little bit of an issue, obviously. And then, of course, when you're trying to tackle the quarterback or you're trying to come through with the strip sack, like your thumb is on your mind because you're in pain and you just went under the knife and got surgery on that injury. Why this also isn't good, though, and I think it comes down to this for me, Haason Reddick at the start of training camp wasn't even practicing. And as recently as, a week and a half ago, he was still a limited participant. So Reddick, up to this point in camp, in the preseason, has already missed a lot of time because of that groin injury that he suffered going into camp. So he hasn't had a lot of time to get into football shape. And because of that, he hasn't been able to practice for these joint practices really outside of Monday. And then in a lot of these 11-on-11 drills, 1-on-1 drills, he hasn't been able to go full speed because if you re-injure that soft tissue injury that is your groin muscle, then you're out for an extended period of time. And you want to err on the side of caution with an injury like that. Now you have the thumb. So to me, there's danger of Haason Reddick either getting off to a slow start because he's not going to be in peak football shape, which is what we saw last year, or obviously, if he's not ready for week 1, then the Philadelphia Eagles risk him not even being ready in general and available to their team as one of the top edge rushers in the sport. So are you concerned? I'm a little bit concerned. I want you to let me know down in the comment section. We always value your feedback. Treat it like a Sports Talk Radio 94.1 WIP call-in line, except we're here on YouTube, and get that comment section popping. So obviously Haason Reddick, one of the best edge rushers in the game. And when he's at full strength, he's a really, really special player, as evidenced by what he did last year in year 1 after signing that contract in free agency, which I've continued to say is a bargain at $15 million average annual value, because last year led the team with 16 sacks. He added 3.5 more throughout that playoff run. None of them came in the Super Bowl. So against the Giants, against San Francisco, he was dominant. His 19.5 sacks led all edge rushers and all players in the NFL last year. So if you don't have a player of that caliber, your defense is going to feel the impact of that. And last year, he finished 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting with those 16 sacks. And that's an award that went to Nick Bosa, but who ended up playing better in the NFC Championship game? It was definitely Haason Reddick. And it's not just the sack numbers that are so impressive with Reddick. It's his ability to have strip sacks, to force fumbles, to just make game-changing plays. And sometimes I look at sacks like wins and losses for a pitcher. It doesn't tell the full story. Oftentimes WHIP or ERA does, because you can have low sack numbers, but your impact can still be felt down after down after down, game after game after game, if you're able to generate quarterback pressures, quarterback hurries, and quarterback hits, because that obviously impacts the delivery of the football for the quarterback, what they're seeing. It has a long-lasting impact throughout the game because the quarterback knows he's been staring down the shotgun barrel and he's starting to feel a little bit quaky in that pocket. It can lead to turnovers as well. So it's the overall impact that Reddick has as an edge rusher, one of the best in the sport, and he's been doing this for a little while now. He's the only player in NFL history to rack up 3 consecutive seasons with double-digit sacks with 3 different teams. His career got off to a slow start out of Temple University when it was an awesome moment when the draft was held in Philadelphia. He grew up right across the bridge in New Jersey, went to Temple, was a diamond in the rough prospect, identified by Matt Rule. He ends up being a high first-round pick, but his career gets off to a slow start because I didn't think that Arizona used him to his strengths and his advantages as a pure outside linebacker blitzer. Instead, they strayed away from some of his strengths. But then when they started to tap into what he does well, that's when he started to turn it on toward the latter part of his tenure with Arizona. He goes to Carolina, follows Matt Rule there, was really, really good, and then he inks that deal with Philadelphia, 3 years, $45 million, when at the time I said, this guy is really, really good. Like, I covered him at Temple University when I was doing play-by-play and TV coverage and newspaper coverage there. I saw the bend, the speed, the burst. It was all there. Again, I think he got off to a slow start because Arizona didn't use him well. As soon as he started to really tap into his strengths and Arizona started to maximize him as a player, putting him in positions to succeed, that's when he really started to turn some heads. Did that with Carolina and, of course, last year as well. Now, obviously, the question becomes now, who steps up if Haason Reddick isn't able to go? Who steps up and gets those first-team reps for the remainder of training camp, the remainder of the preseason, and if he misses some time? Well, luckily, Philadelphia drafted Nolan Smith at number 30, and Jordan Mailata has already called him a mini Haason Reddick. I've made that player comp because going into the draft, a lot of people thought Nolan Smith was undersized. He was under 240 pounds, similar height, similar twitch, similar speed, similar weight. And I had said, well, hold on here. A lot of people think he's undersized, but does he have burst? Does he have bend? Does he have speed? Does he have a knack for getting after the quarterback? Does that all translate to the NFL level? Is Haason Reddick of a similar build? Is Von Miller of a similar build? Yes. And Nolan Smith went to Von Miller's pass rushing academy. Jordan Mailata called him a mini Haason Reddick. You're not expecting him, obviously, to step in year one and have double-digit sacks, but he's had a really good training camp up to this point. He's going to get more opportunities after already having got first-team snaps as an off-ball linebacker and a blitzing edge. And now, I would imagine he's going to be thrust into a larger role. Also, Philadelphia is extremely deep along the entire defensive line, at defensive end, at defensive tackle, and at edge rusher. You still have Brandon Graham, Joshua, Derek Barnett as your traditional 4-3 defensive ends, and then you have Nolan Smith and Haason Reddick as your stand-up pass rushers. So all across the board, I still think Philadelphia is going to be able to generate a pass rush. Haason Reddick even said on Monday, we call it 1A, 1B. We have so much depth along that defensive line where we call it 1A, 1B because we can rotate guys in and out of the lineup. And I think that's also important for the course of a 17-game regular season schedule and, of course, hopefully, ideally, a couple of playoff games because you just keep everybody fresh and you keep everybody rotating in there, and then that allows you to stay pretty fresh for when the playoffs come around. So big opportunity here for Nolan Smith against Baltimore. Limited workload. I thought he did some really good things. On the Jalen Carter quarterback hit, quarterback pressure, and on the throwaway, Nolan Smith was also right there and actually almost deflected the football after Josh Johnson had to throw it away because Jalen Carter was coming after him. And then separately, Nolan Smith, I tweeted this out on my Twitter page, at Chase_Senior, lined up against the left tackle. And really with a power rush, with some bend to dip around the tackle, he was able to get a quarterback pressure. So if he plays tonight against Cleveland, I'm certainly going to have my eyes on him as well as Jalen Carter, Sidney Brown, all of these rookies in this draft class because potentially Howie Roseman was able to knock it out of the park. Carter, good camp. Smith, good camp. Sidney Brown, Great camp, great game against the Ravens. Tyler Steen is now playing backup left tackle and right guard, so the versatility there as a backup is really important. Keely Ringo, we'll see. Tanner McKee was dropping dimes, and on draft day, day 3, Howie Roseman traded for DeAndre Swift. So very rare for a general manager to have that draft capital, but to also knock it out of the park when Philadelphia was so good, expected to be so good this year, and came off a Super Bowl. So that is the latest on Haason Reddick. Wanted to bring you the news before our watch party. Join us in a few hours here at this point. As of this recording, I'm live in like 5.5 hours, so hope to see you all there. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Make sure you subscribe, and thanks for tuning in.